Welcome to the IE2 Electric Motor Specification Guide from Design Products and Applications. Today we're going to look at an overview of what IE2 actually means for you. We're going to look at some of the exceptions that apply, the choices that you'll make, and some real-world examples to help you understand really what's involved. Today I'm at IWEX and I've interviewed Russell McCabe of WEG Electric Motors. I started by asking Russell for an overview of IE2.
There are quite significant changes that are taking place in the world of electric motors. Until recently there has been a voluntary agreement by European manufacturers under the CEMEP guidance to produce motors of a certain efficiency. So people will probably be familiar with the terminology of EFF2 and EFF1 motors. From the 16th of June this year, the standard under the legislation will now become an IE2 machine. So that literally replaces yesterday's EFF1 motor. From the 1st of January 2015, IE2 motors can still be purchased, but they have to be used with a variable speed drive, 7.5 kilowatt up to 375 kilowatt. And from the 1st of January 2017, again, IE2 motors can be purchased. The rating drops down to 0.75 kilowatt. Still has to be used with an inverter or alternatively an IE3 machine.
But I understand there are some exceptions as well.
There are some exceptions. The actual legislation covers the vast majority of usage. The idea, of course, is to reduce energy and carbon. Exceptions to the rule would be, for example, brake motors or flame-proof motors or motors with a short duty cycle. WEG actually makes motors to a high efficiency standard in both explosion-proof and brake motor design.
Thanks for that. I appreciate the overview of IE2, but within the legislation we understand that there are choices that still remain to be made. Perhaps you could explain those for us.
Energy prices are increasing, whether it's domestic prices or industrial prices, they're going to increase. So people are really looking for initiatives on how we can reduce energy. The initial purchase price of a machine can only be maybe 2 or 3% over a 10 or 15 year life cycle. So the consideration needs to be made in terms of its running duty. Do we invest in a higher efficient machine to save that significant energy cost? So the choice really will be, do we buy a standard machine or do we go for the higher efficient technology such as an IE3 machine? There are software that's available on manufacturers' websites such as WEG and others that can help you to determine the actual choice. So it will be application dependent based on the running hours and the actual duty itself. So really it would be a case of putting those parameters into a software which will give you the best choice really to make that decision to invest in a higher efficient machine such as IE3 to yield that significant cost saving over its life cycle.
So how does the legislation in the UK reflect across the legislation affecting the rest of the world?
Well, this really is it's a global change that is taking place in the Americas, in Australia. As a leading manufacturer, WEG have supplied high efficient machines for a number of years into those continents, and the United States is well ahead of Europe. They're already procuring electric motors that meet and will exceed the IE3 standard. So in that respect they do recognise the energy saving that can be made, and they've actually made an investment and legislation to actually manufacture and procure motors to that latest technology.
So what are the cost considerations between the IE2 and the more efficient IE3 motor?
Well, of course the IE3 motor will be more expensive than a standard design IE2 machine, but mindful that motors are going to operate for 10, 15 years and beyond. We've already said the initial capital price can be maybe 2 or 3% over its life cycle. So really buying a machine that is more efficient but is slightly more expensive, you can actually make considerable savings over its life cycle. The choice really is application driven. So look at software calculators to make that really informed decision as regards the payback and the energy saving. Continents such as America and Australia, well in advance of us, and have already standardised on IE3 machines. And as we said earlier in the overview, 2015, 2017, IE3 motors will become the standard.
So in some instances in the UK, it might be worth somebody considering an IE3 motor where an IE2 application might currently be.
That's correct, yeah, the choice is really application driven. So really it depends on the payback that people are looking for. Manufacturers such as WEG and other leading manufacturers have software that make that informed decision. But certainly over a life cycle, it is worth considering using IE3 machines.
Well, I understand that, but where does IE4 fit in?
That's a good question. IE4 is not covered by the European standard in terms of determining efficiencies, but the technology is available, such as permanent magnet machines. So again, more expensive than an IE3 machine, but the energy savings can be quite considerable. So again, a judgment has to be made. Do we purchase an IE3 machine or do we go for an even super premium machine such as IE4? And again, these motors are readily available from WEG.
I appreciate the overview that we've had. We perhaps could look at some examples of how this actually affects choices. So for example, Wimes Motors, how do they fit into the picture?
The water industry has really been the leading utility sector in terms of investing in technology to reduce their energy bills. The Wimes specification, which is the water industry mechanical and electrical specification, determines certain efficiency levels that motors must comply to. Today's standard is IE2, but as part of the Wimes specification they really look at suppliers to provide initiatives to reduce their energy. So there are options to supply machines at IE3 standard or higher. WEG have produced a dedicated high performance range of machines, our W22 Wimes motor, that complies to both the IE2 and IE3 efficiency standard. But as well as meeting this efficiency standard, we've also taken the opportunity to introduce a number of other features that make it very user-friendly, such as significantly reduced noise levels, avoiding the need for expensive acoustics, redesigning the terminal box to make it easy for electricians to connect it on site, variations in terminal box positions, so a very versatile motor that also fulfills those energy saving standards.
I understand that explosion-proof motors aren't covered by IE2. Could you explain that?
You're quite correct, Andrew. The current legislation does not include explosion-proof machines. WEG's standard for over 10 years has been a high-efficient machine, and we do meet the IE2 standard. So again, the consideration needs to be made. If you want to invest in technology that actually reduces your energy bill, an explosion-proof IE2 machine should be a consideration, your choice.
Could you summarise IE2 for me?
From the 16th of June, all motors procured must be to the IE2 standard. However, the consideration really needs to be made about your energy consumption. I've already said that the initial purchase price, the maintenance of a machine can be 2 or 3%. So 90+% can actually be the running cost of a motor. So investing in technology such as an IE3 machine or above can make a considerable saving to your energy bill.
I'd like to thank Russell McCabe for the overview that he's given us of IE2. Today we've been able to see that IE2 does have an effect and that we need to understand what's involved. We've looked at exceptions that will make a difference to the way that we work. We've also seen that there are choices to be made as well. Also, by looking at examples, we get a first-hand experience of really what it does mean. This is the IE2 guide from Design Products and Applications. You'll be able to access more information by clicking on the links that will be provided on this website, and we'll also provide you with links to other authority-leading websites which will help you understand more information and more detail. Thanks for viewing, and we look forward to seeing you on the next guide.